What up everybody, Cult Nerdy Core back again with another video. This one's going to be another collection video for 2019. It's going to be a couple of consoles that I am going to group together because they kind of have a common theme and they're really small collections compared to the other videos that I made, so I figured putting them into one video saves me putting out like 3 really small videos. So those 3 consoles I chose to put together are the Wii, Wii U, and Switch. I kind of grouped them as the like modern Nintendo style of consoles. And this will be basically the end of all the unique collections I've put out and collect for currently. The only other game collections that I haven't covered in a video would be my PSP and PS1 video, which I might just include in my PS Vita updated video, which will be coming out probably somewhere in August or September. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. Alright, the first game we got for my Switch collection is Fate Extella The Umbral Star. This is kind of a fast-paced version of a Dynasty Warrior game. So you it's the same thing, hack and slash, tons of enemies on screen. But it's kind of really over the top. I think it even takes the over the top of a Dynasty Warrior game and ups it a notch, which is really quite fun. It's definitely pretty challenging even on the normal settings. That also might just be because I'm absolutely trash at these games usually. Overall, what I played was pretty fun. I didn't really get into it too much just because I bought it for playing on a vacation and I ended up actually forgetting my Switch, so I didn't actually play too many levels of this. Once I got back, I played like 5 levels of it. What I played, it was pretty good, so I'd give it like a solid 6.5 to a 7. It's definitely an above average Dynasty Warrior style of game. There's definitely some cool elements to it, especially the combat and the difficulty I found was pretty good. For me, just the like kind of super over the top like anime manga style story is just something I've never been really into. But overall, the gameplay was really fun. Alright, next up is Fire Emblem Warriors. So this is a Dynasty Warriors kind of spin-off game of the Fire Emblem Warriors series. So the Fire Emblem Warriors series is normally a grid-based style turn-based strategy game. And one of the main things that's a big draw to that game is the kind of forging bonds and like creating relationships with your characters as you go through the games. That's a big emphasis in this game. You can play like certain characters. You basically have usually a team of 4 or 5. And you can basically set which ones you're going to have on your team, and then playing with the same ones over and over again, you grow your bond with them, and then we'll lock abilities and kind of side conversations with the characters, which actually adds a really unique element to this game that I actually really like. Unlike Fate Extella, this game plays more like a traditional Dynasty Warrior game, kind of has the same feel to it. They definitely add a lot more in terms of the strategy with like actually controlling your units and sending them after. Commanding like your side generals and stuff like that. I feel like it's a lot better in this game than previous Dynasty Warrior games. So this game is actually a really good game and I would definitely recommend it. This game also has a pretty decent story mode. Usually with these Warrior games I can't really get into the stories. There's just so many characters that I didn't pick up like in the earlier Dynasty Warrior games, so I don't really get where the connections and stuff like that are. In this one though, it's pretty simple to follow and is pretty decent. I wouldn't say it's like the greatest story ever, but it definitely holds up and can keep you interested throughout playing the game. And there's like skirmish modes and different types of modes that definitely keep the interest high in this game. And I would definitely recommend this game. I give this game a solid 8. Alright, next up is Mario Tennis. Now this is one of the games I specifically got the Switch for. As I've always said many times on this channel, I'm a huge fan of arcade sports games, and really tennis is one that really lacks on the arcade style of them. There's only really the Mario Tennis games in terms of arcade style. Like you have the Virtua Tennis or the Top Spin games, which kind of take a simulation / arcade style to it, but these ones are full arcade. These ones kind of remind me of the Striker games, the Mario Striker games. Where they kind of give you like abilities with your characters. All characters have different stats. They all play different. There's a bunch of like crazy courses. There's a cool adventure mode where you go around like upgrading Mario and playing on all these unique fields with different challenges. This game I would highly recommend if you're into any sort of arcade sports games or tennis games or anything like that. I would probably give this game a solid 8 as well. Alright, next up is Splatoon 2. This is one actually I was surprised on how deep the game is. I initially picked this up because when I first got my Switch, I got it like probably 6 months after it came out. I really wanted a multiplayer game to play with my brother, but Smash Bros wasn't out yet. So I picked up Splatoon 2, hoping it would be a good just kind of time killer till Smash Bros came out. And actually, it turned out to be a lot deeper than I thought it was, and actually a lot more fun. The main thing that really draws me into this game is really how smooth the combat is and how great it looks and feels when you play this game. It's a third-person shooter mixed with kind of almost like turf war objective modes type thing. And there's a bunch of different guns and abilities that really change your playstyle. There's snipers, there's rollers, which are good for like covering area for your team. There's dual pistols and assault rifle, which are good at 1v1 engagements. So there's a lot of actual teamwork and different play styles that really affect in this game, which I really enjoyed. So this is one I would definitely recommend. I'd probably give this one a solid like 7.5. Alright, next up is probably the one game that everybody owns on the Switch, or mainly everybody owns on the Switch, is Smash Bros. Ultimate. And that's for good reason. This game is probably actually one of the better Smash Bros. Games I've played. And this one I really like specifically because they basically just combined all the characters and maps from other games and kind of put it into one. I really like that the roster is just so expansive and there's so many different characters to just hunker down and play for a bit or try to learn them and go online and actually get into the deep mechanics of the game. And they're actually really actively balancing this game. So it's always keeping up with meta changes, actually trying to compete online with actual good servers in this game. The servers aren't actually too bad. So this is a game I would obviously highly recommend for the Switch, and I would say is a must-buy for the console. I would definitely probably give this a 9. Alright, now we're getting into my Wii U games. So first up we got Bayonetta 2. This is a game that I got into on the PS3. I got into the first one probably about 2 to 3 years ago. I bought it really late. This is because I was really into hack and slash games when I first got the PS3. I gave Bayonetta a shot just because the art style looks really cool, and I heard some of the music, and Platinum Games has always been one to put out quality games, so I definitely was willing to give it a shot, and I definitely wasn't disappointed. The first Bayonetta is an amazing game, and the second one I think improves on basically everything in the game. The main draw of these games is one, the combat. The combat's very flashy, very over the top, and highly relies on combos and fast reflexes when it comes to countering or dodging. And one of the main things this game amps up is the boss fights. I think this game in general has some of the best boss fights I've ever played, and some of the most interesting and well thought out boss fights. Also, the game's story is really fun. It's just kind of like a decent story mixed with some really funny characters and really likable characters. So that's what really draws me into this game. And also the variety of enemies you'll face is always interesting in these games. They're always adding different enemy types with different weaknesses, different ways you got to play against them. So that's what I really love about this game. And I would give Bayonetta 2 probably a 9. It's probably one of my favorite games on the Wii U, and is honestly turning out to be one of my favorite franchises of all time. Alright, next we got Mario Kart 8. So this is actually, I would say, probably one of the better Mario Karts I've played. My favorites are probably Double Dash, Mario Kart 7 in terms of maps, and this one's actually really good. I really like the addition of the magnetized carts and stuff like that, and going upside down, kind of like the Crash Nitro circuit. They kind of just added that into this game. But obviously with the Mario Kart, they made it 10 times smoother, and this game's just a blast to play. There's really creative tracks, and it's a Mario Kart game. These games are always good, and I would highly recommend this to anybody who has a Wii U, or now it's on the Switch, so just pick it up for the Switch. I would give this game a solid 8.5. Alright, next up is Mass Effect 3. This is the special edition. They for some reason just released Mass Effect 3 on the Wii U. I don't know why they just chose to release Mass Effect 3 and not the entire trilogy, but they did. So I picked it up just because I'm a huge Mass Effect fan, so I really just wanted to pick up anything kind of related to Mass Effect. Mass Effect 3 is a great game. The ending's kind of stupid, as most people know. Third-person shooter RPG, very deep character relations, and very deep story. Definitely worth playing through all three. But I would recommend getting the PS3 or Xbox, like the complete collection, so your save can go through and all your choices can go through all the different games, and it definitely feels more organic, the story. But overall, just Mass Effect 3 on its own, I'd probably give it like a 7.3 or 4-ish. Just because, one, the ending's really bad, two, it's nowhere near as good as the second game, and three, just by itself without the other games, you don't really get that transition of all your data, so it's just not as good to play it that way, in my opinion. Alright, next up is Smash Bros. For the Wii U. This one's actually a really good Smash Bros. As well. I don't think it's as good as Ultimate, in my opinion, just because as a casual Smash player, I just like having as big a roster as possible and all the different maps to choose from. I just really enjoy the amount of characters in the Switch version, but this one is definitely a solid one, and is actually the Smash Bros. That got me back into buying Nintendo consoles. I initially wasn't gonna buy a Wii U because I really got turned off with the Wii, just because like how gimmicky the console was, and there wasn't really a lot of exclusives that really caught my eye. And Smash Bros. On here really caught my eye because I played it at a friend's house and really loved it. So I picked up a Wii U based on that, and overall I'd give this game probably like an 8.2. Definitely not as good as Ultimate, in my opinion. That's just from a casual player's perspective, but definitely worth a pickup. Alright, next up is 007 Legends. This one's pretty quick. I haven't played this one yet. I've always been interested in the old school 007 games. They're usually a pretty fun playthrough. I have a couple of them on the GameCube. This one apparently is not that good for some reason. I don't really know why. But I picked it up. It was like $5. So I'll hopefully give this a try, and hopefully it won't be too bad. Alright, so now we're on to my Wii games. So first up, we got Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess. So this game is pretty good. I would say it's actually a really good game. It's just a really good game that I can't really get into myself. I probably got about halfway through it, but Zelda has never really been a series for me. I just don't know if I just don't like the characters or the story or just really the universe of it, but I can never just get into it. I can recognize this is a very well made game, and Legend of Zelda are usually very solid games, so I can recognize that. They're just really not for me. So overall, in terms of my opinion, I would give this game like a 7, but if I was rating it as a game just by itself, like recommending it to other people who are a fan of these type of games, I'd probably give it like an 8.2, 8.3 range. Alright, next up is Linewriter Unbound 2. As I was saying when I introduced this video, these Wii games are usually ones from when I was very little. So they're a bunch of like kitty related games. But this game's actually pretty fun. If anybody remembers Linewriter from the PC, it was basically a website where you would go on and you would just kind of have a blank canvas, and you would draw little squiggle lines, and there'd be a guy at toboggan. You can make him do a bunch of crazy tricks and go down crazy tracks that you make and stuff like that. You can upload yours to the website and play different created ones, and it was actually pretty fun. So this game tries to add like a little story to it, and basically just gives you like little objectives to do while creating your little tracks for people to ride. It's a little gimmicky game, but it's pretty fun if you were into the original ones. I'd probably give it like probably a 6. Alright, next up is Mario Kart for the Wii. As I stated when talking about the one for the Wii U, this is one of my favorite Mario Karts, just basically because of the tracks. Other than that, it's a Mario Kart game. Solid racing, smooth mechanics, always the same with Mario Kart games, definitely always reliable to pick up. I'd probably give this one probably a solid 8. Alright, next up is My Sims. Funny story with this one, I accidentally thought this was a legit Sims game when I was little. So I was hoping this would be an actual Sims game. Turned out to be like baby's first Sims game. So it's basically a very kiddie version of The Sims. And kind of just focuses on like gimmicky little quests and creating like kind of preset shell versions of houses that you kind of preset and put your own like style to it type thing, or you can build and like customize furniture type thing. It's a decent game for like kids, so I'd give it like a 4. It's definitely an under average game, but it's not poorly made or anything like that. Alright, next up is Ebony Live 08. I'm a big basketball fan, so especially when I was little, I was really big into basketball. So I basically just picked up basketball games whenever I could. I've definitely wanted to give one a try with the Wii, with like the flicking of the Wii remote and stuff like that. But it was just super gimmicky and not really responsive a lot of the time. So I'd give this game like a 3. It's definitely not the worst basketball game I played, but just the Wii remotes, I never really got into them too much. Alright, next up is Shrek the Third, the game. So this is a movie tie-in game. It's a hack and slash game or beat 'em up game based off the Shrek the Third film. And I'm actually a big fan of the Shrek movies. I think they're one of the better animated kids movies of my generation. But the third movie wasn't really one of the best movies, and the game's not really one of the best. It's an average movie tie-in game. I literally give this like a 5 just because it's an average game. It's decent. If you're huge into Shrek, definitely worth a play, but if not, definitely better hack and slash games out there. Alright, next up is Speed Racer, and on cover alone, I'd give this one a 10. I love this cover. I like the shine to it, and I think it's just badass looking cover. The game itself, it's kind of like, I would say, a more friendly in terms of skill wise version of F-Zero they were trying to go with this. It's definitely a decent game. I actually have a decent time playing this game. It kind of follows the movie. This was when the I think remake of Speed Racer, I don't know if there was a movie before this one. This one came out in like 2010-11ish. Right when that came out, this game came out. So I picked this up. I haven't actually seen the movie, but this game was actually pretty fun. I would give this game probably like a 7 or something like that. It's definitely not a bad game, definitely not the best game of all time, but again, cover's badass, so that gives it some points. Alright, so there you have it. That's my modern Nintendo collection. Definitely let me know some games, especially for the Switch, that you guys recommend me picking up. I'm actively picking up Switch games. I just kind of do it bit by bit, and there's certain games that I'm waiting for to come out, like Fire Emblem, Bayonetta, and really any sort of arcadey sports games. Like maybe they'll do the Mario Golf. I might pick up the new Pokemon. Maybe they can bring back the Strikers series. Like there's a bunch of games that they can bring out that I would definitely get. Just right now, there's not a lot that are piquing my interest in terms of the exclusives, which are usually what I get for the Switch anyways. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I will try to get my other collection videos, like my updated PS3, PS4, all those ones I was mentioning that I was going to update. I'll probably try to just start doing those in August to September-ish, because then it'll be basically a year from when I originally made them. So I think doing it yearly would be the best way to do that. I'm going to try to get a PS4 Hidden Gems video up now. And we're getting close to 300 subscribers, so I really appreciate that. It's been almost a year, and 300 subscribers is pretty dang cool if we can get there by then. I wasn't expecting that at all. Just kind of put these up because I love watching collection videos myself. So I thought it'd be fun to make a couple of videos about my collections. Definitely appreciate everybody who watches my videos. And yeah, so just remember, everybody has some nerdiness at their core.